Drive-thru window workers, what's something memorable you've seen inside a customer's car? My daughter-in-law says a lady comes through the Starbucks drive-thru with a goose named Mr. Waddles. A porcupine meandering on the passenger seat. Guy pulls up with a parrot on his shoulder, both wearing matching sunglasses. As a high school kid working the Burger King drive-thru, my buddy and I realized no one paid attention to our preamble. So we had some fun with it. Welcome to the place next to McDonald's. Can we take your order, please? No one paid attention. So we tried a bunch of things and got all the way to can we take your underwear, please? A car of our high school's cheerleaders heard that one, and when they got to the window, they were all topless, and 4 bras got tossed at me. That's a core memory. Sort of related, we used to have a guy come through on horseback every so often, and horses don't trigger the drive-thru chime, so every time they showed up was a jump scare. Lovely gentleman though. Baby on passenger's lap, empty beer cans on the floor. A sex doll strapped to the passenger seat with legs up. The doll was clothed, so at least no nudity. Not sure if this qualifies, as it doesn't involve seeing anything. Late night, pouring rain, guy gets to window and pays. He had to wait cause his sandwich was being prepared. We get another car, so I ask him to pull ahead and wait. He asks me, "Have you ever done coke, man?" and then pulls off to the side in parking instead of the wait spot. Great. When his is ready, I have to cross to him, getting soaked. He looks at me from his car, clearly confused. He rolls down the window and asks what I want. I offer him his food, and he protests. I'm standing there getting drenched, and his buddy starts saying, "Free food. Man, take it. Take it." I handed it over and ran inside. I always wondered how the rest of their night went. When I worked at Starbucks, a woman was eating a ceramic bowl of soup in her lap in the drive-thru. Garbage filling every nook and cranny except the driver's seat right up to the ceiling. You could barely see out the windshield. Once had a guy fall asleep in the drive-thru. No one knew what to do, and we asked a police officer that had just come in to check it out. After a while, the officer, along with the sheriff, finally convinced the guy to pull over. While they were sitting in the parking lot talking, the man came inside to collect his food and began eating at the counter. He kept going on about how tired he was and seemed apologetic about the whole thing. He finally left, and apparently the cops didn't want him driving, which turned into a huge problem. He literally dragged the officer into the restaurant screaming to call his mom. Eventually, the sheriff came inside and pepper sprayed the guy, and that was when we had to close the restaurant. That was also the first time I was ever exposed to pepper spray. A detached mannequin head. The woman must have noticed the look on my face because she immediately started to explain that her daughter was in beauty school and the mannequin head was for home practice. Getting flashed by a woman. Pretty memorable in my opinion. I once was holding the bag out the window, and when the car pulled up, a macaque grabbed it, took it to the front passenger seat, and started helping itself to the French fries that I was in high school, and a girl from one of my classes came through wearing a bikini top and no pants at all that I thought I was seeing things. I guess I was in hindsight. I took her money and stepped back, and a coworker was about to hand me her food, and I said, "You give it to her," which she did. And then after she closed the drive-thru window, she looked at me and said, "That girl has no pants on." So it wasn't just me. A few times about 1980 when no one cared about anything. A few people passed out at the drive-up window. We would push them over to the passenger seat, park their car, and take their money for the food and leave the change along with the food. God, I miss those days. A pit bull mix who fussed at me until I reached through the window to pet him. Had a lady come through with a giant black pig in her back seat. I thought it was a Newfie dog at first. Also had a girl come through with a baby squirrel she had just rescued. She actually came back through a month or so later, and she was raising the baby to be her pet. That one car with 5 chihuahuas in baby outfits, sitting like little humans. They even had hats. One was wearing sunglasses. I once drove through with a 3-foot bust of Elvis seat belted into the passenger seat. When the girl in booth looked funnily, I said, "Elvis is my co-pilot," then gave her a rose and took my food. People rolling joints while driving was fairly common. But the worst was a woman with an unsecured baby in the front seat. Kid was probably 10 months. When she reached into her purse, there were empty mini liquor bottles in it, and more on the floor. She was out of it, clearly drunk. I accidentally spilled her coffee, so it had to be remade, and I got my shift supervisor to call the cops. I delayed her at the window as long as I could and made sure to give the police the make, model, and license plate of the car as soon as she pulled away and the shift handed me the phone. I hope the baby was okay. Starbucks, circa 2005. A dad and two girls pulled up and immediately burst in a song set to a kind of circusy waltz melody and tempo. We're coming to Starbucks / because we feel lazy / and when we leave Starbucks / our brains will go crazy. I've thought about that a lot over the years. Did they practice it? I've never found any evidence of it elsewhere. It was so wholesome, and I needed that in those late teenage years. Those girls would be well out of college by now, maybe even doing drive-thru shenanigans with their own kids. At McDonald's, I had a guy come through on a Saturday afternoon who decided it would be fun to whack off while I was getting his change. I called one of the grill guys to hand him his change and food. More alarming actually was late one Friday night when a car pulled up to the speaker and someone just yelled, "We need ice," then drove up to the window. A person in the back seat was bleeding profusely from somewhere on their head. When we saw, we scrambled and passed them out a garbage bag loaded with ice, and they took off. I used to work at a DQ. One time a fairly sturdy, well-endowed woman ordered a chicken tender meal that comes in the paper/cardboard boxes. It was around lunchtime, so I'm thinking she was probably on break and had to make haste. This was further supported by her subsequent actions of opening the box and placing it on her goods, massive rack. She then drove off munching away. It's been years, and I still remember her commendable resourcefulness. The memorable customers, the nice and friendly regulars that you have rapport with. Dude's entire car was filled with mail. I'm talking every single inch to the roof in the back seat, front seats up to the windshield, literally all of it. He could only put his window down maybe 3/4 inches to slide a $5 bill through because mail was about to spill out. He managed to pull his sandwich through the same crack. Unbelievable. Person in full pony gear chilling in the passenger seat. We have a guy come through the drive-thru with his vehicle covered in ravens, including one in the front seat. An extremely hairy, obese, shirtless man panting from the exertion of rolling down the window. It was hot out, I'll give him that. Not the worst thing, but shocking. Lots of skin, I wasn't expecting, LOL. We also had a regular that had garbage piled high, so high you couldn't see the side mirrors, over to the passenger side windows or into the back seat. I'd seen this vehicle around town, and when not occupied, you could see bugs crawling on every window and surface. It smelled so bad I held my breath when handing them items / checking them out. The driver was a very nice, otherwise cleanly older black dude. Clean shaven, clothes were always washed, skin moisturized, etc., with no indication of malnourishment. Separate, a gun, like a huge ducking AK or something, just sitting on the passenger seat. The magazine was out on the seat next to it. The woman was very blasé, like, "Oh, that thing," when I was visibly startled. Again, not expecting to see that in a Dunkin' Donuts drive-thru. Jesus Christ, people. I went on a Wednesday night bender, or winder, as we called it that night. Walked up to the McDonald's drive-thru window, and they tried to turn us away because it was dangerous to be standing there if a car pulled up. Once we explained that we were far too drunk to actually bring a car, they took our order but asked us to wait on the grass. Nice people overall. Happened in high school. Lady was in a convertible. Was wearing a mini skirt without panties. And had hiked them up to her waist. While slouched down in her seat with her right leg up on the dash. Her cat was very visible with how she was sitting. Had a woman hand me wet bra money once. I guess you'd call that sight memorable. A friend of mine had a naked Barbie doll on his car antenna. Always got some weird looks in the drive-thru. One time, while working the LJS drive-thru, a woman came through with a husky in the back seat. It was a beautiful dog. Another time, I went through the drive-thru where I worked and asked for the manager to go with nothing on her because she was cute and working that night. But she wasn't around to hear the request. Still had a good laugh with coworkers about it though. Not me, but my sister knows that one girl who almost got kidnapped out of the drive-thru when that psycho tried to put a zip tie on her neck. Guns N' Roses. While working the drive-thru at McDonald's in the late 80s. Got Slash's autograph on a McDS napkin, but I lost it somewhere. A college-age dude with his DCK out and his buddies in the back giggling. I once gave a Jell-O shot topped with whipped cream and raspberries to my drive-thru girl at Burger King. Sometime around 2012, I rolled up in a forest green, 1977 Mercury Cougar station wagon with a 3-foot Baloo the bear from the Jungle Book buckled into the shotgun seat. I definitely got more than a few comments on him during the few months I had him there. Boobies. There is this thing where a low-cut thing for going out on the town and a seatbelt exposed one boobie to the drive-thru guy. First time I saw it, I was like, oh damn, and another guy I worked with was like, what was it, the seatbelt thing? I was like, yeah, I guess it was. A giant wheel of Parmesan on the passenger seat. Had to be like a $400 wheel. That stuff is not cheap. Random small car like a Honda Civic or something. Regular looking guy. And one incredible flex. Not pets. Not farm transport. Just a woman with 7 live hens and cat carriers, ordering iced coffee like it's Tuesday. Her vibe? Don't ask. I'm late for a thing. Been a few years for me, but here's some things I saw. I used to work second shift and third, especially weekends, because I had no life. Saw several people fall asleep in the drive-thru line. Ended up calling the police if I couldn't get them awake. A couple came through moaning sex sounds in the speaker. When I gave them their drinks, the girl had taken the ice out and was rubbing it on her nipples when I passed them their food. I just laughed. They were clearly trying to make me uncomfortable. Had a fire in the hole once. They drove up to the window and threw their drink at me and drove off yelling fire in the hole. So many people who came through at the same exact time every single day and make the same order. Can't imagine how much money someone wasted on their daily grilled cheese. There's always that bunch of kids that try to trigger the speaker by walking over it. Failing. Had someone try climbing through the window once. 2 Amish kids driving a horse and buggy coming up to the drive-thru window to order a 12-pack of Schlitz beer. I sold it to them. A regular customer had just had a baby. I was surprised to see her pull up so soon after giving birth. Imagine my horror as I saw that she was driving a minivan with a tiny newborn riding between her legs as she was driving. Not what I was expecting to see that day. Lumpy rolled up carpet with dark red stains in the back of a pickup. About 3 o'clock in the morning. Driver was an older heavy-set man in a polo and slacks, wearing a gold chain and watch, with slicked back hair, big plastic smile with cold eyes. Basically the perfect creepy stereotype of a scummy used car salesman. Passenger was a younger man, slender and tall, hair sticking to his sweaty forehead, wearing dirty jeans and a work shirt, like a ranch hand fresh off the farm. He stayed silent, stared straight ahead, unblinking and breathing shallow like he just climbed a flight of stairs and was trying not to look out of breath. I'm not sure about a lot of things in life, but I am certain they killed someone and stopped for Mickey D's on the way to bury the body. You know how some people drive with small dogs in their lap? That's what this one guy did, except it was chickens. A girl with a lit candle in her cup holder. This woman always came in with some sort of compressed air, either whipped cream or keyboard cleaner in her cup holder. Not in his car, but a guy on his bike at 4:30 a.m. because he went to see his side chick and couldn't take his car or his wife would get suspicious. a shelter worker transporting dozens of cats in carriers once. When I worked at Starbucks, some lady showed me her nude when I asked to scan her app for payment. The driver smoking a joint with a baby in a car seat holding a bag of ice as big as they were. I've worked in fast food for over 16 years now. I've seen naked women, birds, cars filled with trash, children without seat belts or car seats, people passed out at the speaker from being so high, tons of dogs, a few cats, and a lady that would come through with her primate dressed as a baby. I've seen tons of things that I wish I hadn't. People don't realize that even if they're in their car, it doesn't mean they're invisible to the outside world. Unrelated, but I've had a customer punch through the window. I've had a man send his son through the window to retrieve more sauce. I've also had someone drive through the front door. Fast food is crazy. People are crazy. My wife's uncle picked up his brother from rehab, and they got into fight in the cab of Uncle's S10 pickup while they were in the drive-thru at Sonic. Brother jumped out and ran away, and Uncle had a heart attack and died. His foot came off the brake and the truck crashed into the dumpsters. I bet the drive-thru person still tells the story. At his funeral, they wanted to play Stairway to Heaven on the big screen, since it was his favorite song. Somebody just pulled up YouTube, clicked on a result, and hit play. An unskippable ad for a dentist played first, and when the song started, it was in Portuguese. It's a good thing doubled over stifling laughter looks a lot like doubled over crying, because that was what our whole row was doing. A patient who comes through at the pharmacy frequently that I work at has an oxygen tank hooked up and will be actively smoking. I refuse to serve him anymore and make the pharmacy manager do it because he's a rolling bomb. McDonald's taking the money for orders. 2 girls in the car. They paid and couldn't move forward yet, so they started making out. 16-year-old me was jaw on the floor. Not a drive-thru, but I work at a body shop and we have a customer who comes in a few times a year. He's not all there. Sometimes he just stops in to chat with us, but it is difficult to understand at times. His vehicle is filled with trash, and all over the dashboard and steering wheel basically everything up front appeared to be covered in what looked like dried jizz. I think maybe he drives around or to certain places and just jorks it. Back in the 90s MCD's breakfast shift, guy passed out while waiting for his food. We threw creamers at him to wake him up. In retrospect, probably not good that we let him drive away. Former drive-thru cashier here. I loved when people would bring their cats. Not as memorable, but in HS I worked at a very ghetto Tasty Freeze or whatever it was called. Lady ordered 2 hamburgers. We made 9 hamburgers per lb of ground beef. She fed them to her dog. Nothing too crazy, but I was working as a bank teller about a decade ago and witnessed a child in the backseat of a car yank his tooth out with a pair of pliers. I was an underage teen working at a MCD's drive-thru. A couple in a mystery machine-style van roll up to the window. The van is really high, so even in their seats they are about level with me. The lady is in the passenger seat and she's sitting so she's almost facing me, wearing a dress. While I'm handing the bags to the guy in the driver's seat, she spreads her legs and shows me her ridiculously hairy bush. Honestly, I was pretty stunned, but even at that age knew they were getting off on it, so made no reaction whatsoever. As soon as they left, me and my friend that worked there with me burst out laughing, wondering if they were off in the parking lot having sex. At a U2 concert in Buffalo, my buddy and I struck up a conversation with a girl next to us while we were waiting for the band to come out. Small talk, asking where she worked and what the craziness story from her workplace was. She said Tim Hortons, and that one time a family came through the drive-thru and she noticed that there appeared a deceased elderly woman in the back seat. The couple in the front hadn't noticed she passed away until the girl had asked if their mother was okay. Car pulls up to the speaker and the guy orders a meal. Nothing unusual, just your typical bored-sounding dude probably going home after work. He pulled up to the window, and there was a couple in the back seat, under a blanket, very obviously having sex. He acted like nothing was out of the ordinary, so I did, too. I took his money, handed him his food, and told him to have a good evening. I've always wondered if it was a dare or a kink, or if that dude was just so used to being the third wheel that nothing fazed him. I'm not the drive-thru employee, I'm the mortified driver. A few years ago, I went through the Culver's drive-thru with my dog for ice cream, and a pup cup the young girl at the window was oh-ohing and awing at how cute my backseat dog was when suddenly her face froze in shock and horror. When I got home, I found my dog sitting next to a pile of vomit. The vomit contained used and chewed up tampons. It was totally clear what they were, too. Bloody, string attached. Now I keep my garbage on top of the toilet during that time of the month. A lady once showed me her boobs for a free honey mustard. A bong on their lap. A male marmoset that repeatedly flashed his fuzzy, snuggly nuts at me. He was adorable. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more Reddit videos. Bye.